What about the drones over New Jersey? Do you think that what do you think? What do you think about those?
Oh, I don't think that they're Chinese, like he's saying. I think that that letter is written from the perspective of somebody that potentially was exposed to the reality that there is this exotic technology that's out there, and maybe they saw it as part of those operations, those black operations they were talking about, and they just know that there's anti-gravity stuff, and the rest of the world just has no idea. And they're using that to speculate that those drones were Chinese spy drones. Maybe they are. Maybe they're 100% right, and maybe we couldn't shoot them down because of their like plasma drones or something like that, and conventional weaponry doesn't really work on them. And maybe we didn't want to shoot off EMPs over people's houses in the residential zone. I'm not sure. Uh, but at the same time, it could just as easily have been like us or black projects on our side that were our own drones that were like that. But I do think that most of what people were seeing, it became hysteria right away, where most people then just start recording like planes, and they're saying that's a drone shape shifting into a FAA regulated lights plane situation. But I do know that we've got this technology that's out there, and I think that many other countries, even beyond China, are going to start to get these plasma drones that can, by the way, transmedium. So they could theoretically get deployed from a submarine, like he was saying in that letter, which is a very
Yeah.
specific thing to say, is that these are being deployed from submarine. But if it's just a ball of plasma, then it can be transmedium and it can flow through the water and then out of the water and flow through the air. Um, and yeah, that fits with the research that I've done into how these EVOs, exotic vacuum objects, ball lightning, plasmoids, there's all these different terms for them, but that seems to be the direction this whole UFO thing is going in.
Yeah, it feels to me like Matthew's email was a limited hangout. It's like, here's some true information in it, but we're going to change it to
Okay.
China. It's not our subs, it's the Chinese subs are off the coast doing this. And really, what he was actually wanting to say was US subs are on the side doing this. Like, this is us and our technology. And it also feels like these New Jersey drones are also a limited hangout. It's like the US government saying, well, how do we ease people into knowing we have this type of tech? And the fact that these other countries have it too, and it's about to be revealed, so we have to reveal that we have it as well. Well, we'll start doing UFO hearings. We'll start doing we'll start have drone sightings, UFO sightings, above people's houses, and then you got Donald Trump coming out saying things like, they know what it is. I don't know why they're not telling you, but they're not. They're just telling. They don't want to tell you, and that to me sounds like, yeah, because they're ours, and they just don't want to say they're ours just yet. That would just open up a can of questions that they don't want to answer, right? So I mean,
It
it
just feels like
does.
a cheesy production, though, right? Like with like the
Yeah.
whole like these UFO hearings, and it's all a bunch of spooks that are doing all the
Well, but I
testifying,
mean, who
except for
else?
Michael
Who else would
Schellenberger.
do it? But who else would be the people with the information? I mean, so it's believable, right? Because it's like, who else would have the information and access to those types of records, except for a bunch of spooks? Like, how? So you got to bring them in. I mean,
Well, it's like for me,
I
it's like that's not how I imagine it going down. And I'm curious your thoughts. Is that I just imagine like something, well, not to speak too much about MH370, but like leaked videos, like get out to the public through shadowy connections or whatever. I didn't imagine they would just be out there waiting to be found. But that too is that the thing that was missing from those UFO hearings was there was no evidence. Like you
right.
can tell stories all day long. I don't care what your credentials are. End of the day, you're not wheeling the alien bodies out. You're not showing me anti-gravity something or other or a free energy device or whatever. Like, what are you really doing for me?
I want to
And
see
they're
the
talking.
body of the alien, right? I want to see the photographs of what the hell the alien looks like, but we haven't seen
It's
any
not
of
even good
that.
enough to have photographs anymore. Like, it's got to be like you got to wheel the alien body out at this point. Like, we got a
Okay.
bio or whatever. Wheel
Right.
that bad boy out. Joe Biden can't be in the picture. I 100% won't believe it. But
Yeah.
something like that. But the real thing is that they even said that we've got full motion video, satellite video of UFOs. Both Tim Gallaudet, who's a rear admiral in the Navy. By the way, he's got to know that MH370 videos are real. It's hard for me to believe that he doesn't, given his position. And then also Michael Schellenberger from his Immaculate Constellation says that there's all these videos that we've got, and I believe it because now that I've researched our surveillance apparatus, we're not there are not stuff flying around there that we're not seeing. Like, we're seeing everything, and people say, "Oh, you really think they're tracking every plane?" I know they're tracking every plane. Like, it goes well
Mhm.
beyond that. We're in the area where they're
Hmm.
like tracking every car and building like a persona about what you do and where you go based on just automated, like AI is doing that.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah. So the thing is, like, we have these videos that are out there, and I expect those videos will leak on the internet, but they
Yeah.
rarely, rarely do, because if that were to happen, you go to prison for like the rest of your life.
Yeah,
But
I mean, it
anyway,
would be
that's what I
considered
hope
a
it
breach
works.
of national security if somebody were to leak out what type of military tech the US has. And but what the alleged email from Matthew Leibelsberger says is, he says the so what is because, we need to know that there's this, that there's these, that China and the United States have this tech that could end with mutual destruction. He also says the United States government needs to give the history of this, how we are employing it, weaponizing it, how China is employing them, and what the way forward is. China is poised to attack anywhere on the East Coast. That part to me, again, I think limited hangout type. I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
somebody was in there inserting some, we got to get China before China gets us. That is what will lead to mutually assured destruction. I mean, the one thing that has been saving us from mutually just assured destruction, surprisingly, has been us having nukes and Russia having nukes, right? Both countries
Yeah.
have nukes and we don't want to piss each other off. So we always take it right up to the edge. And then we're like, okay, we'll back it up, back it up. We don't really want to cross that line. We just want to look strong. You know how it goes. And I'm sure our leaders and Putin are like sitting in a back room, smoking cigars, drinking their whiskey and vodka and being like, yeah, yeah, we just got to make it look tough. We got to look tough. We got to look tough and strong to our people. You know how it goes. But we're really not going to blow each other up. Come on. I kind of wonder if that's what's going on in the background. But China also is a nuclear country, so are we. But if there's this extra special tech, and if China's about to unveil it or show it off, the US has to be able to show off ours as well. I mean, it would be disastrous,
Mhm.
I think, for people, just the mindset of a lot of Americans to be like, what? You're saying we don't like, we have the nukes and now we've got this new tech. We can't be the ones without when another country has it. People will start getting hysterical, even though I don't know if China would really do anything to us, or, if there's a lot of countries in this world that do not have nukes and we've not gone around nuking them. Um, so not having the tech is not a sign, but it is, but you do end up getting, controlled by the one with the tech. So that is a fear, because we certainly do that to everybody around us, right?
That's why I think the US is the one that has it right now, is that, you look at who's the big bully on the block, and you'll hear
Yeah,
Putin say, "Oh,
it's
we've got
still the
these
United States.
hypersonic missiles," and the United States doesn't even respond. It feels like feels like Putin trying to say,
Well,
"Hey, well, I figured this out," but you're like, "Yeah, that's cute. That's cute. You go sit down at the kids' table now."
yeah. And the fact that, like, the Israelis, for example, what they've been able to do in this war and how they've been able to track down all the leaders of all these different organizations and blow them up. And that's the type of surveillance that Matthew was talking about in this email, right? Is saying, like, you've got this stealthy surveillance ability and you're able to stealthily surveil without people even knowing they're being surveilled, essentially. And so you would be able to gather that kind of data. And it makes me wonder if the US does have that tech and is letting Israel in on the intel, whether we're letting them actually have the tech or not, but certainly allowing them to have the intel from the tech if we do have that type of tech that Matthew says we do have and that we've been using to surveil in Afghanistan even, right? That was his
Yeah.
assertion in this email. Hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the topics
Well,
I don't really dig it too much into, but it wouldn't surprise me if we do have some connections with, of course, our allies overseas, and the technology that we share with them for sure is definitely an interesting thing.
yeah, I mean, no matter which side you're on that debate, right? It's on that issue, we would be giving the Israelis I don't know if we'd give them the tech, but like I said, we'd give them the intel from that tech if we're using that tech for that type of thing. So
Yeah.
anyway, interesting. So you think this email's real? Do you think it was written under duress?
I think that's a real email. I think it's extremely likely it came from Matthew Livelsberger. I think the content of it, just because of how many paragraphs there are about the whole thing with anti-gravity in China, I think there's something there, but I don't read it in the way where I take everything at face value, like you said as well, with the limited hangout
Yeah.
points about some of it. Where some of it, either maybe he's just extrapolating based on information he knows, or could be disinformation, what have you. It does seem very complex email. And we didn't get to the other part with the black ops and the other confirmations, but Sean Ryan stands by it behind a bunch of other people that are feds they're really kind of anti-government, but they're also big guys that care about their credibility. The signal number change, yeah, to me, this is a real message. I happen to agree that yes, we do have that technology there, regardless of whether or not it's true or not. And I just want to know what happened to this guy. I think that there's some sketchiness happening here with respect to
Yeah.
it, and there's narratives being built, and I just want to know what the real truth is about what happened with this guy
Right.
in the final days.
Yeah, and they're saying that he shot himself in the head first, but then there's a lot of questions about how do you do that, and then pull the trigger on the explosion. And also, some people say that they see him moving in the car, right before the explosion. And it's like, well, if he was already dead, how did he move? There's a lot of questions there. Still a lot of questions.
Yeah,
I don't know
big
if we're
point I
gonna
want to
ever.
add as well,
Yeah,
if you don't mind, it is really important, is that if he wanted to harm more people, he easily could have. He could have ran people down. He could have detonated in a crowd of people. This was Vegas,
yeah,
is huge. Like there's that clear symbolism between where it happened, and I don't take him to be a terrorist that was trying to cause maximum carnage, because he easily could have caused more if he wanted.
yeah. A lot of things don't add up. He was a Trump supporter. He liked Elon, so why would he choose a Cybertruck in front of Trump Tower, right? That it unless somebody was certainly trying to send a message, that's for sure. But what was the message? And yeah, is it consistent? I don't know about that with him in particular, but I'm sure the message was received, whatever that message was, for whoever was meant to receive it. I'm sure they received it. Ashton, where can people find you and your great work?
Yeah, and prayers to the family of Matt Livelsberger as well. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know if we have a lot of reason to think that we should demonize him for whatever reason. And I'm sure they're going through a hard time. But yes, people can find my work at Just X Ashton, mainly on Twitter, or X now, also on
yeah,
YouTube. I've been having pretty big live streams about the science
great.
and stuff like this. I've made a lot of great connections just through my interactions and with people like you. And then you can also find some clips of me on TikTok and Instagram as well.
Well, we have your Twitter down below, and I'm sure that's where people can find everything else if you follow on Twitter. So, Ashton, thank you for being here. Really appreciate your insight.
Thanks, Kim.